This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi, and a big welcome to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast from a mild and wet Newcastle upon Tyne as I record this episode. If the sun is listening, feel free to head up to the northeast of England here for a few weeks at least. We're most definitely missing you. You know, it's amazing how nice weather can lift the mood in general. And on this subject of lifting the mood, while at least increasing engagement, focus, commitment, and so on, in today's short solo episode, it's going to be particularly relevant to team sports and to corporate organizations. So I go on to discuss the use of team units and the benefits of working more closely in team units. Again, I'm going to keep this as close to a mental toughness slant as possible. Firstly, on the use of team units in sport, my experience tells me some teams are meticulous with this, as well as technically, tactically, and physically. They're well and truly dialed in with the use of psychological skills training and team cohesion interventions and activities. These are widely used, and there's a belief in this approach in order to really improve the culture within the team, the club, or the organisation. In a rugby context, something I've been privy to is that they'll go above the norm of having a leadership group and simply splitting the team into forwards or backs. My experience has shown that small subgroups will be created and they'll be changed frequently with a purpose. Why? So that everybody gets to know each other better as a person, their traits and all. Regular team building activities were a big part of this. That's right, not just time spent in the gym or on the training pitch. There was many fun and light-hearted activities. Team communication, problem solving, and trust building activities were also a feature of this approach. Now, where many teams go wrong, they simply select a leadership group and then they fail to work with the leadership group properly. It smacks of a tick box exercise and the group don't get time nor opportunities to help drive the culture. Other examples are when teams put a team building exercise in place, maybe once a season, at the very start, or perhaps maybe twice a season. So once in pre-season, then in a break at some point. This approach is pretty much like an example here of a corporate organization that I've worked with who well-being was part of their alleged strategy there, the well-being of staff. And what they actually did to help the well-being of staff was allow the staff to bring dogs in for the day. Yeah, that's right. They allowed staff to bring dogs in for the day. You did hear me right. Apparently, bringing dogs into the workplace can help people feel better. Yet, they still persisted with their staff working 12-hour days, being messaged and emailed at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night on a Friday or a Saturday evening. So, yeah, there wasn't a great deal of importance put in place with regards to well-being. Now, I'm going to switch this to a more positive light. An example of a great and effective leadership team who worked well and were truly aligned with smaller team units that I've noticed in the past when working in professional sport. It was really noticeable how the players wanted to be there. They really enjoyed being around the club environment, going into training, learning and getting better every day seemed to be part of the culture. Internal processes and communication was excellent. Now, in mental toughness terms, if we consider goal orientation and achievement orientation, players were hugely motivated to achieve both individual goals and team goals. There was a high degree of accountability, which meant that not many players were distracted from what they needed to do in order to achieve these individual and team goals. Then you've got trust. Trust was another factor between units and individuals, the leadership group and coaching staff, which, let's face it, is essential. You found that conflict and disagreements happened, yes, as they do in all walks of life, and especially in high-performance sport. However, In the main, they were dealt with speedily, they were resolved, and they didn't distract people from these collective goals. You found that tough decisions had to be made, yet they were handled well, especially really sensitive issues. So what was noticeable was that when we consider learning orientation, there were many opportunities afforded to players to realise their full potential, with less blame and fear imposed. They were shown how to and empathised with in order to improve their performance and to keep evolving. Closer bonds between players, knowing more about each other as people, not just as rugby players, footballers or cricketers, really helps teams become prepared for the challenges that will arise. Nothing is plain sailing, there's always challenges. And on learning orientation, focus in this area often is individual learning plans. They should be a key process, and they should be revisited time and time again, as well as being discussed openly amongst teammates in these small groups, small units. So they're not hidden away. And why is that? It's to increase the skill of players. And we're not just talking about technically, tactically, or physically. We're talking about their general lifestyle, psychologically and socially. It's so important. And then becomes a drive to keep advancing skills. And in Carol Dweck's language, harnessing a growth mindset, where you've got skills, traits, competencies, or just keeping on, where you have skills, traits, and competencies that really contribute to individual and team success. And in mental toughness terms, the likelihood is you're going to have a group of people and many individuals who've got a can-do attitude. This helps with confidence, another key element of mental toughness. Be that confidence in ability at an individual level, so being able to see or feel yourself complete a skill and then just do it, as well as interpersonal confidence, where you become much more comfortable in group situations and socially. You'd likely find the quieter, the more introverted members of the team really benefit from this, and it helps them no end to feel a lot more comfortable in the environment. All in all, there's something in paying close attention to prioritising the development of teams and individuals, as I alluded to in last week's episode. It really does make a lot of sense to create subgroups, small units amongst your teams. Obviously, I've listed dozens of benefits today which go on to highlight this. And if you'd like to learn more, please do sign up to the Mental Edge newsletter, where I share more on this topic on a regular basis and many other subjects in order to produce more high-performing teams and individuals. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.